As Carlos Santana has been thrilling audiences worldwide with his unmistakable guitar sound. Born in a small town in rural Mexico, he spent his formative years in the border town of Tijuana, honing his musical skills in its seamy bars and strip joints. At the age of 16, he emigrated to San Francisco with his family, and it was there, in the middle of the hippie revolution, that he and a group of friends formed the Santana Band. They exploded onto the world at the Woodstock Festival in 1969. Carlos Santana became a 20th century guitar legend, and songs like Black Magic Woman and Oye Como Va became instant classics. Although he fell out of favor with both critics and the public in the 80s, Carlos Santana never stopped making music. In fact, he's one of the very few artists to achieve a top 10 album in the 60s and every decade since. But it's his most recent album, Supernatural, featuring collaborations with artists like Eric Clapton, Lauryn Hill and Rob Thomas, that has put him back at the top of the charts. Well, you must be a very happy man with 8 Grammys for Supernatural.
I'm very grateful, and I am very happy. It's a wonderful experience to be of service to so many people, and it's an incredible feeling to manifest some dreams that my wife and I started plowing about 3-4 years ago.
So it came out of a collaboration, first collaboration was you and your wife, was it?
Exactly.
And was there any idea then of how the album would turn out, or did it evolve through conversations?
We had a goal, and our goal was to get back into the radio.
Despite the collaborations and the people who put a lot into this record, as in your other records, your own guitar sound is unmistakable. John Lee Hooker once said, I thought marvelously, he said, he doesn't have to sing, his guitar sings for him. Could you give us your view of the sound you make, and maybe perhaps let us have a small taste of it?
Sure. I am an accumulation of all the people that I love. You know, Aretha Franklin, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Eric Clapton, Peter Green, B.B. King, T-Bone Walker, Django Reinhardt. I can go on and on. But I listen to a lot of women, you know, especially Aretha and Dionne Warwick. My sound is more of a feminine sound. You know, melody is since I carry the melody in the band, it's a female thing. Masculine is the rhythm. The bed don't matter. You know, it's like bed could be rock and roll, reggae, jazz. That's the bed. But I think the two lovers is definitely the melody and the rhythm. You know, we all learned from, since I was a violin player at first, I learned how to think of a note like a long sustained cry, you know, or when people sigh. You know, after they cry, have a good long soulful cry. Most children go like that, you know, and that's really breath is your tone. It's not the amplifier or the guitar, with all respect to Paul Reed and Gibson and Fenders, but Eric Clapton is the sound. I am the sound, not the guitars. You know, this is an extension, but it's really your breath. If you know how to breathe, you can tell Jeff Beck from Jimmy Page or Eric Clapton or Peter Green or Carlos. If you don't know how to breathe, then people say, "Who's that?" when they hear you. You know, because you don't have an identity. You know, this song. This song is called Victory is Won, and it's something that I wrote when I listened to Mr. Desmond Tutu talk about how in the early 80s, at the peak of the brutality, the darkest hour, he called it, in South Africa, he said when the enemy had his knee on our throat and he was suffocating the life from us, we looked at the enemy in his eye and we said to him, join us in our celebration. You already lost, we already won. Celebrate with us. Victory is won. I like hymns, you know. I like certain hymns that when you hear it, you can hear angels and devils and humans and everybody just walking towards the light.
I mean, your musical education started very, very young. Your father, as I understand it, in Mexico, was a considerable musician, not only in the mariachi bands, but he knew a great deal about European music, European classical music. Exactly. He played all around the place at weddings and funerals, as well as outside the cafes. And although it was a large family of 7, they still found the money to send you off to be trained as a violinist. So could you give us some idea of the music around you when you really were a child?
I played Granada by Agustin Lara, which is something that Pavarotti does probably every night still. We learned all them songs. And those days before Carlos Jobim, I think Agustin Lara was the Carlos Jobim of that era. Gonzalo Curiel, Bésame, Bésame Mucho, you know, that kind of stuff.
No, 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 no.
Yeah. That song has been recorded probably more than Wild Thing or anything like that. You know, it's one of the most covered songs.
Can you give us one or two pointers of the things you learned from your father that have stayed with you?
Was the lessons. He was very punctual, teaching me every day after school. About 2 hours of just violin and learning solfeges, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. And I would try to outsmart him and say, you know, I'm going to learn that stupid song, you know, or them lessons. I'm going to learn that lesson so he can just let me go play hide and seek with Rosa or something, you know, and be normal like the rest of the kids, you know. And so I would learn the song really, really fast when he wasn't home. So he would come home and say, okay, let's go to it. And then I play it. I got it. And then he would go, man, that's really good. Since you did really good, let's go over tomorrow's lesson. So I was like, oh. So no matter what I did, you know, he was always ahead of me. And I said, oh, man, you know, I just can't win. But I appreciate him a lot now because he stayed on me. I mean, he didn't, you know, he said, well, you know, you have to learn the value of the note. This is the most important thing that he taught me. The value of one note. See, one note is like a grape. You know, if you play over it, you don't get wet. If you squeeze it and it squirts you and you get wet, then you enter the listener.
How did your father teach you the note? How did he express it to a boy?